There was a version of you as a kid who kept pulling on the thread. Why does that work that way? Why did she say it like that? Why does nobody else seem to notice? And at some point, probably around middle school, the adults stopped answering and started sighing instead. So you learned to keep asking, just silently, inside your own skull. Fast forward to right now. You're at a coworker's birthday drinks, everyone's laughing at a joke that genuinely wasn't that funny, and you're the one person quietly cataloging why the laugh felt performed. Or it's Tuesday night, you're lying in bed and one throwaway comment from a Zoom call 6 hours ago is still looping because something about it didn't add up. For years you probably read that as a defect, something to smooth over, mute, apologize for. Here's the correction nobody handed you. That pulling away instinct isn't a bug in your personality. There's a real, well-documented cluster of traits that keeps surfacing in people whose minds run hotter, deeper, and more relentlessly than the average nervous system was built to handle. 10 of them. And if even 4 or 5 land, you've probably spent a decade wondering what was broken in you, when the honest answer is, nothing ever was. 1. You need a door closed and silence after being around people, even people you'd take a bullet for. It's not that their company drains you. It's that somewhere around the 90-minute mark of any gathering, your brain has been running background processes nobody else clocks, reading micro-expressions, tracking who went quiet and why, noticing the beat where someone's laugh didn't reach their eyes. That's labor. Real, metabolically expensive labor. So when you retreat to your room afterward, you're not being antisocial, you're rebooting a system that's been multitasking all night. 2. That same overclocked brain has a second habit that gets you in trouble in meetings. Someone gives you a conclusion, and instead of nodding along, your mind quietly cracks it open. But why, though? What's the mechanism underneath that? You've been told to just accept the answer and move on more times than you can count. Here's the thing. Psychologists John Casipo and Richard Petty named this back in 1982, need for cognition. Their research showed people who genuinely crave effortful thinking process information more accurately, not just more slowly. So that reputation you built as the difficult one in group projects, that was just a brain that refuses to swallow an answer it hasn't chewed through first. 3. Here's the cousin trait, and this one's cost you actual career points. You physically cannot fake enthusiasm for something that doesn't matter to you. Doesn't matter who's asking or what's on the line. A manager, a professor, maybe a parent has probably called you unmotivated because of this exact wiring. But what's really happening is your brain quietly running a value audit before it commits any energy. Does this align with something I actually care about? And if the answer is no, your body simply won't perform the enthusiasm people are expecting. That's not laziness. That's a filter most people never developed. 4. This is where you start unsettling people without trying. You walk into a room and immediately register what nobody said out loud. Who's actually fine and who's just performing fine. Whose words and whose energy are telling 2 different stories. You can't always explain how you just know, almost instantly. And carrying that constant, involuntary read on other people is exhausting in a way that's nearly impossible to explain to someone who doesn't run the same software. It also creates a strange, one-sided intimacy. You can leave a 5-minute conversation knowing something true about a total stranger that they never actually said out loud. There's no polite way to bring that up, so you just quietly carry it. 5. Now here's where people misjudge you hardest. When everything around you is falling apart, you go still, quiet, and onlookers read that as not caring or being cold. What's actually happening is your nervous system choosing to process before it reacts, a form of emotional regulation most people spend years and thousands of dollars in therapy trying to build. You showed up with it already installed. 6. That composure usually has older roots than people assume. You felt older than your actual age for as long as you can remember, sitting in rooms full of people your own age and feeling like you wandered in from a different decade. It's not superiority. Questions about meaning, mortality, purpose just arrived on your radar earlier than they arrived for everyone else, and you've spent a long time waiting for the room to catch up. 7. This one's heavier, so stay with it. There's a fully formed version of yourself living in your head, clear, specific, already built, and a constant low static of awareness about the gap between that version and the one currently running your day-to-day life. Most people make peace with their limits fairly early. You can't, not out of ego. Some part of you refuses to stop seeing what's possible, even when looking away would be so much easier. Which probably explains why small talk feels less like conversation and more like something your whole body resists. The weather, the weekend, the script. It's not that you think you're above it, it's that you'd trade 10 of those exchanges for one conversation that actually goes somewhere. 8. Flip side, you're one of the rare people who can sit with someone for 20 minutes in total silence and feel completely fine, maybe even closer to them for it. Most people can't tolerate that. Silence forces you to hear your own thoughts, and a lot of people fill every gap with noise specifically to avoid that. You made peace with what's in your head a long time ago. That's a bigger deal than it sounds. 9. You found friend groups, jobs, communities that check every box on paper, and there's still this faint sense of standing just outside the room, even while you're technically inside it. Researchers who study existential isolation frame this not as a flaw, but as a natural cost of having a highly specific inner world. The sharper and more particular your mind becomes, the harder it gets to find something out there that maps onto it perfectly. Every single one of these has probably been used against you at some point, relabeled as cold, difficult, weird, standoffish, by people who weren't wrong about what they were observing. They were just wrong about what it meant. None of this makes you superior to anyone. It's not a trophy to bring up at the dinner party you are already dreading. It's just information about how your mind is built. And once you actually understand the blueprint, you stop apologizing for it. You stop performing a louder, more digestible version of yourself just to keep a room comfortable. You start choosing the one real conversation over the 10 shallow ones, the quiet night in over the noise that was never actually filling anything. Nobody's handing out medals for that. But at some point, pretending starts costing more than just being exactly who you are. So, drop it in the comments. Out of all 10, which one hit first? And how old were you when you realized you were tuned to a different frequency than the room around you? One more thing before you go. A lot of what we covered, the hyper-awareness, going still under pressure, feeling like the old soul in every room, usually traces back further than people expect, often straight to childhood. If any of that landed, there's a link below for the Childhood Patterns Workbook, a guided 31-page resource built to help you actually name those old wiring patterns instead of just quietly carrying them. Grounded in real frameworks, Bowlby, Neff. Not therapy, not a diagnosis, just a mirror. There's also a 7-day companion guide linked if you want to keep building from here, one small step at a time.